welcome to Ephemera Files by Tommy. And today I would like to share with you a flip through of my first, Bible journaling Bible. I have had this Bible for years and years. You can see it's being held together with duct tape. I really need to recover it. The inside is falling apart, partly because it is so well used, partly because it's old and sometimes age makes it difficult for us to hold things together. Isn't that right? But I want to go ahead and share with you a flip through of this original journaling Bible that I started working in as a journaling Bible back in April of 2017. You will see along the way that there are also lots of highlights, lots of notes, lots of different little doodles and stuff that I did before I knew Bible journaling was a thing. So the first thing I'm going to show you is my first entry, because I think that it's important to see where your beginnings were. And it's just a simple little one. I had traced this from a coloring book. And it's simply markers drawn and then colored in with colored pencil and a piece of washi tape. But small beginnings are still beginnings. And I think that's important to remember, is to begin. You cannot do anything until you begin. So let's begin. I'm going to start at the front to show you how things started. I have a tendency to write a lot in my Bibles. Different quotes, different verses that I think are really important, little acrostics and things like that. This was in here long before I started journaling. And you can see my cover is falling apart, therefore the duct tape holding it together. So, and it's falling apart here. So let's go ahead and flip to the first entry. Now I did take washi tape and put along the edges to designate each new beginning, new chapter. And I tried to have it go along with whatever that chapter was about, and I thought the leaves went well with Genesis. So I'm not going to talk about each one. I will go through and do some flips, and mostly it will just be you looking at what I have done in my journaling Bible. I will talk about this one. This was from a watercoloring class that I took, where we discovered that watercolor paper has a right side and a wrong side, and apparently I painted on the wrong side. But I think it turned out really well after I went through and outlined all the little spots with my black marker. I really like it. I should have some background music or something, but I don't. If you would like more information on any of these pages as you see them, let me know in the comments. These are both tip ends, and then this is all washi tape. Alone we can do little, together we can do much. When others look at you, do they see an accurate reflection of God? I feel strange not talking, but I don't know what to say. This, I have to talk about this one though. This is my beautiful mother-in-law. And on my 50th birthday, she knew I was struggling. And she wrote me this lovely letter that I've put inside this vellum envelope that I made of 50 things that she loved about me. And I just had to put it in here. I love her very much. She's an amazing woman. Some of these I took inspiration from Pinterest. Some of my entries I got inspiration from friends on Bible journaling sites. Some came about as I took different classes in Bible journaling. And some simply came because I was listening to a sermon or read something in my Bible study. You can get inspiration in all kinds of places. This was from a coloring book. I simply traced it and then colored it in. I am not that good of an artist. Sometimes you get a card from a dear friend at just the right time. And so it just has to go in because God blesses us with friends. This one came about because I found this. It's called Te Deum, and I don't know what it means. I think it means something like maybe you are God or something like that. And I really, really liked it, and so I had to do this. And I just wrote little prayers inside. This was already here, and so I kind of had to work around it, but it worked out well because I ended up making this little flip here that frames that. And there's that first ever actual intentional Bible journaling page. This one I did 2 days later. I added this probably a year later, this clip. This is from By the Well for God. This tip-in is where I discovered that not all papers make good tip-ins because it's very stiff. Does not stay down very well. This is one of my favorite pages just because it's so happy. I like to find the Hebrew word and then write it in if I can. You saw that on another page. This one was really simple. It's just a bunch of ant stickers. This is from a sermon series that we did at our church. And I thought it was really cool, and so I added that in there. Like I said, you can get inspiration from all kinds of places. I don't know why that's there. Maybe I'm getting ready to do something here. I'm not sure. Again, this is from a coloring book that I just traced and colored in. This is also where I discovered that some simple not watercolor, just plain colored pencils will bleed through or shadow heavily. I don't know that that's bleed through or shadow. Anyway, it still looks good on this side, so that doesn't bother me. Excuse me. This was my first ever tip-in, And it was not supposed to be a tip-in. I was practicing my lettering on another piece of paper, and it turned out so well that I just made it a tip-in. And this is still during my learning time, because this is only about 2 weeks after that first entry. And that was part of a class that I took. I love this one, this bookmark. I used it to commemorate our wedding day, and that's a picture of us at our reception. I have lots of Bibles to study, and so I don't mind covering up some of the words in some of my Bibles that are intended for art. I feel like God made us creative, and if we can use His Word to bring light to others, then I don't think there's anything wrong with it. This is where I discovered bleed through, and that I don't want to use this ink. I think that in an older Bible, sometimes the ink just bleeds through because the pages are old enough that they're really, really dry, and so the paint just goes through, and the colored pencils just go through, and everything just goes through. This page terrified me because it was my first attempt at paint scraping, and I did this during a class, and I kind of liked the way it turned out, but I was so scared at the beginning. It took me forever to put that first little bit of paint. Right here I commemorated the solar eclipse that was on August 25th in 17. Had a pair of the viewing glasses and a hymn that I felt like worked well with that. This came about because of this. Now, it didn't bother me that I had these doilies wrapped around, and this is a bookmark that I just added stickers to, but this just worked out perfectly because when you do that, here's the sun and here's the moon for the solar eclipse. I don't believe in accidents. Here's another one of my early ones. Simply washi tape and a couple of quotes. How big is this problem on a scale of 1 to God? And God can accomplish anything He chooses to do. If He ever asks you to do something, He Himself will enable you to do it. By Henry Blackaby, and that's been in there for a while. Like I said, I have been note-taking and doodling in my Bible for a long time. This is a piece of mulberry paper that I printed the lyrics to a song by Lauren Daigle called Come Alive. I got this on a Halloween clearance because I immediately thought of Ezekiel and the dry bones. And so I did some more paint scraping here and put the title of the song here, and I love the way that that looks. This is a photo that I took when we were hiking on the Appalachian Trail. And I just simply printed it on cardstock and tucked it in here. Therefore, behold, I will allure her. I will bring her into the wilderness and speak comfort to her. Sometimes God draws us into a quiet or solitary place, or even into the desert of a crisis of faith, so He can begin to show us the things that need His loving touch. I wish I had written down where I got that quote from, but it is very comforting. This is another coloring book page that I simply traced in and then colored in with markers. Anything you lived through could have been worse. No bleed through, just some shadowing. This was my first experience with gelatos, and I love the way it turned out. I love the feel of the page. It's soft. It's kind of strange because paper doesn't usually feel soft. Made this for a Valentine's entry. This was a hand print that we made. On this one I saw it on Pinterest and I really, really liked it. This is a page from a calendar. You can use all kinds of things in it, in Bible journaling and junk journaling and any kind of art journaling. This was simple, washi and a die cut. Simple, simple. This one is unfinished. I still need to go back and finish it. And again, I'm talking a lot. Whoops, did I? Yes, that was that one. Again, with the bicycles, I apparently have a thing about bicycles. I don't consider that a problem. This was my first time printing on sticker paper, and I had the wrong thickness of paper, and I was frustrated with it for a long time. And then I was able to fix it up. I did this one on the eve of an MRI of my head to see if I had had a stroke or a seizure. Thankfully, it turned out that it was a seizure, because then knowing is the best thing. And it's simply folded paper, writing, and stickers. That's it. Song lyrics. Whoops, I need to glue that back in. Song lyrics really, really resonate with me. When I was younger, I always thought that this passage about the 10 lepers was about big cats, leopards. I thought Jesus healed the leopards, and I always thought it was such a strange story. And so I went with the leopard print on that. Just a little bit of fun there. This, I created a word search and used photo corners so that this completely comes out. That's an idea for those of you who do not like to cover up your words. Use photo corners, then you can just take your whole thing out. Don't take my word for it. Search God's word for it. Oops. This one was an experiment that I'm not really sure I liked. I laid out a whole bunch of wooden gears because we're talking about all things working together. But the page feels, I don't know, it feels funny. It's just some, I think that it was squirt paint or spray paint. I was experimenting. And then I have this bookmark with the gears. I didn't show you my other bookmark. This is on the gelato page. Let's see. This one is all watercolor pencil, except for I have Sharpie outlining and a white gel pen there, and the clouds are all washi. I have quite a few flamingos in here too. It's strange the themes that I find going through my Bible. This one, I'm not sure what happened, because this is not what I was going for, but it's what it ended up being. And sometimes those turn out beautiful as well. My mother-in-law got me this bookmark that's actually from Ephesus, so I put it here at the beginning of Ephesians. This was my first napkin applique experience in a class. This, my Bible is splitting right here. This was a mistake. I'm still trying to figure out how to fix it without destroying my Bible any worse than it already is. Because I did this as a tip-in in a class and I put it on the wrong page. And I'm still trying to figure out how to tie it into something on this page. So we'll see what happens with that. I may just leave it as a learning experience. This Bible is done being journaled in, by the way, because it is falling apart. And I've got these two tip-ins where I made a bunch of balloons with all of these whatevers and tied them all together. And then they tuck under. here. This was simple. I put a bookmark in and simply dotted with a marker and added a little paper clip. There's more flamingos. This is covering up a mistake. Well, not a mistake, but something that just didn't work the way I wanted it to. I was starting to make a quilt for some reason, and I don't know what happened with it. And so I came back several months later and added the napkin applique flamingos with the stand fast. Here's another simple bookmark. It goes with this page. This is all washi tape. This whole crown is washi tape. And then I added the star stickers and then the mirrored words and a journaling spot. This is a napkin applique with a ribbon and then different stickers and die cuts. This was one of my first experiments with doing galaxy painting with watercolors, and I think it turned out beautifully. As a matter of fact, it was so beautiful that it completely covered the next page and even some of the next page after that and after that. I think it stopped here except for one little spot. Like I said, I think these pages are thin and dry because they're so old, and so it just runs through. And then this one, this is called the Building Blocks of Faith, is what I've heard it called since I was little. And so I made a little folding insert that has the building blocks of faith, goodness, knowledge, self-control, perseverance, godliness, kindness, and love. And then it closes right up. Only a few more pages. We're almost to the end. This is a tip up. This was made by putting some Tim Holtz ink on the bottom of a baby food jar, of a wet baby food jar, and then simply putting it on the page, and it looks like little coffee cup rings. This is a vellum tip-in that has a whole lot of die cuts on it and stickers. And this next one is where I found out that pigment ink doesn't dry quickly. It doesn't like old pages, and it doesn't like old ink. So it is almost obliterated my quote that I had written there. So we'll have to see what happens with that. I may have to transfer that quote to another journaling entry in another Bible. And that is the last of my journaling entries in my Bible that is falling apart and held together with duct tape. I do have 2 other Bibles that are newer. One is the Note Taker's Bible, and I have a few entries in it. I can do a flip through at some point. And I also have the big pink illustrating Bible from, oh no, I have forgotten who did, Illustrated Faith. There we go. Bible Journaling Ministries, Illustrated Faith. And I only have, I think, 2 entries in it. So those may be the ones that, as I do Wednesdays in the Word, I will be working in those. But this is my first. This is my favorite. This holds a whole lot of memories other than the Bible journaling entries that are important to me. And that's the important part of Bible journaling, is getting it into your heart and getting it into your head. So thank you for joining me on this flip through of my Bible, my Bible journaling entries in my Bible. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you saw something that you liked. And next time, we'll do something else that's fun. Maybe. And until next time, remember, be kind, always. Bye.